I can't believe I won.
And you still got people out there with double masks and face shields and shit. Look into it.
You can tell it's real because it looks so fake.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Look Into It. Today, this episode has nothing to do with conspiracy theories, so you might as well turn this shit off, go to Tinfoil Hat, go to fucking Jay Dyer. There's plenty of other conspiracy shit going on. This one's, we might dip into some conspiracy. I doubt it, though, but this one's 100% pure comedy and some music sprinkled in. My guest today, one of my best friends from the Comedy Store, Jeremiah Watkins. What's up, Jeremiah?
Brother? Thanks for having me, man.
And you know what? The way we met was through Kill Tony at the Comedy Store.
Yeah.
And you were doing like a Jeff Foxworthy type character.
If you creep on any woman with a pulse, you might be a red band. This guy looks like every kid who didn't have a speaking line in the Sandlot.
Wow. That was a fun one.
Yeah, you were. I thought that's what you did all the time. I didn't know that every Kill Tony show you had a different persona.
Right.
And the band, you were like leading the band. You're a musician. I thought that was like your character, and I fucking loved it because you said something like, you're Red Band when something like you were talking shit on Red Band. You were roasting them. I remember falling out.
I said you might be a red band. Yeah.
You might be a red band. There you go.
Yeah, instead of Jeff Foxworthy's classic, you might be a redneck.
Yeah.
Then you might be a redneck. I said, then you might be a red band.
Totally. That was beautiful. And you invited me on your show. You do a show in the belly room at the Comedy Store, stand up on the spot. And me coming in as I wouldn't even call myself like, it's hard for me to call myself a comic or a comedian. Very, very hard for me. I do go up on stage and I do my best and I do talk shit and every now and then a couple people laugh and everything. But it's hard for me to consider myself a real comedian because I don't do what most comedians do, like go out every night, get a set every night. You guys are always at the clubs every night, and I'm teaching jujitsu every night. I don't have time to do that. So I'm like at best a part-time comedian, and the fact that you invited me on your show, it was huge for me. It's I am honored.
You know what was great about when you did stand up on the spot is you actually did really well. You did awesome when you did the show because a lot of people, when they do the show, they freak out and panic, and it can go either way. The panic can either influence you to do really well, or it can cause you to go into a corner. But because you know yourself so well and you have so many life stories and everything, when people were yelling out different suggestions, you had something like that you're kind of like, oh, I could talk about this. And like, it was great. It was super fun.
Well, thank you. And, it's funny that you're talking about freaking out and then backing into a corner because that's happened to, I'm sure every single comedian out there, any person that goes on stage and tries to be funny has gone through that bombing, that eating dicks on stage situation. You know what I mean?
That's weird. It's the only way you can get better.
It's horrible. And you know what? It's the only way you can get better, but it's also one of the ways you can run from comedy and just fucking stop doing it. Because I would say, I was doing comedy before 10th Planet a little bit. I back in 2001, Joe was putting me on in the OR on the open mic night.
Like
And
for potluck on like Mondays or Sundays or something.
yeah, and I thought, I thought I could do comedy, and Joe thought I could do comedy, and Joey Diaz thought I could do comedy. So that's why I did it, because they would say, you got to go on stage. You got to do that on stage. You could do that on stage. And I felt like I could, because you could fool yourself into thinking you could go on stage and doing comedy because, you're in the parking lot bullshitting with your friends under no pressure, and you're telling these stories, these funny stories or whatever, and people are laughing and shit. Comedians even may be laughing, but it's a whole fucking different ball game when you get up on stage and there's people in front of you that paid to laugh and bought drinks, 2-drink minimum to laugh. So there's a lot of pressure in those lights. It's not the same. Yeah, you think you're funny because you're telling jokes to your friends in the locker room or in some alley, and you think you could do it. It's totally different on stage.
Well, you have the luxury, like when you're just hanging and chilling with friends, like in a parking lot, like they know your comedic voice and they have context for how funny you are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
like when you go to the stage and you're telling a funny story that your friends think is hilarious, the hardest part is translating it to an audience that has never met you before, and they need to figure out why this story is funny to them because they don't have context. They don't know who you are. So
Yeah,
like that,
exactly.
that's the biggest brawl that you're going up against. Like when you're trying to be a guy who is a funny guy, like out in public or with your friends, but taken to the stage, like you're saying, it's night and day.
Yeah, and because Joe wanted it, he wanted me to go on stage, man.
Yeah.
He thought I could pull it off, and I didn't know shit about how the Comedy Store ran in terms of that open mic night on Sunday. But back then in 2001, that open mic night was huge for the regulars at the Comedy Store, because although open mic night started like at 7, and the people that waited in line all fucking day, they go on stage. You have to be there Sunday afternoon. You get in line, you sign up, and it's not easy. It's you got to fucking kill your whole day just to get 5 minutes. And because me and Joe were friends, and Joe back then, this was like right at the beginning of Fear Factory's blowing up. And I don't know how the Comedy Store is now, but back then, if you had TV clout, if you had movie clout, Mitzi would she made a rule, I guess, an unspoken rule, I guess. If you're high level, you could just call in and jump on stage anytime you want, basically. And the comedians that were scheduled to go on stage, they just have to eat it and understand that's how the world runs. And that's good for the Comedy Store to have like Eddie Griffin come in, or Dave Chappelle or Joe Rogan coming in. So anybody that was on TV had extra pull and power at the Comedy Store, which to me makes sense.
That's kind of in general.
But the people that get cut out and get bumped, damn, it hurts them. So what Joe was doing, I always wanted to be a rock star. I was a musician, but I felt I was always a big comedy fan as well. I loved Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, Sam Kinison, Martin Lawrence, Chris Rock, all that shit. I was balls deep into comedy. I loved fighting, comedy, and music. That was my whole shit. I would always tape random boxing shows, Tuesday Night Boxing, Friday Night Boxing, Wide World of Sports Boxing, all the pay-per-view, all the Mike Tyson, all that shit. Julio Cesar Chavez, everything. I was always about fighting before the UFC. And then when the UFC started, I was all about that. But I was also all about music. Music was number one. And comedy. Comedy was everything. I love Howard Stern. I would tape all Howard Stern. I would tape Comic View. I was
Howard Stern has my favorite SNL interviews out of everybody. Like if you've ever been a fan of SNL, like you can tell that dude's like a fan of like the whole history of the show, and he asks like really good question. Just in general, he's an amazing interviewer.
Oh yeah, that's what made Howard Stern is his questions and interviews and the way he gets inside people's lives and stuff. And so I was always into comedy. I thought I could do it. I started smoking weed. I'm like, oh, I think I could do comedy. And plus, I had been DJing at a strip club for years, so I thought that was the public speaking experience that was required to do comedy because, I was a DJ. I have public speaking experience. I could do comedy. So I thought that. Joe thought that too. And, but I always procrastinated. I wouldn't go on stage. And then one day we're at the Coffee Bean right there on Sunset in Fairfax, me, Joe, and Joey. And they had talked about this. And they had an intervention. They go, listen, you're going up tonight or we don't ever want to hear about this shit again. You're going up tonight. And I'm like, oh, shit. I'm going up tonight. It was open mic night Sunday at the Comedy Store. And Joe because the prime time, I think that back then, open mic night started like at 7 and it goes on all night. But around like 9:30-ish, 9:15-ish, the regulars started going up.
Sure.
So there would be an audience there for open mic night, but then the regulars would start working in. And Joe would like to go on like right at 10. Sunday night at 10, that was the prime spot. So Joe would walk in with all his power and said, hey, I got my boy Eddie, put him up right before me. And I thought I didn't really think much of it, but I didn't know that the regulars were like, who the fuck is this guy just bumping us? Like they were pissed. Like all those, I don't want to name names, but I had no idea already there was already hate for me at the Comedy Store just because of Joe. Joe was just throwing me on stage and I had no idea. I was like, okay, I guess I'll go on stage whenever Joe says. And I went up and that happened 9 times, 9 open mic nights. And then it took me 9 to figure out. I wouldn't even say moderate success, but I ended up realizing like shit, the strip club DJ experience does not translate to comedy. It's a whole different. I thought that was going to be the public speaking experience that I needed, and it wasn't because one thing I realized is comedy, stand-up comedy is basically 2 parts: public speaking skills and funny. You got to have both. And
Sure.
A lot of comedians don't really have that much funny, but they're so good at public speaking that they pull it off because they're so smooth on stage and so confident on stage. And maybe they don't say, Sam Kinison level type shit or Martin Lawrence level type shit, but they're so smooth on stage, they pull it off and they get gigs. I didn't have any public speaking skills. Constantly saying, all right, put those hands together for candy. That did not translate. All right, guys, don't be shy. Ask her for that table dance, And
all right, your next comic coming to the stage, Joe Rogan.
Yeah. So I decided, because this one time, I'll never forget, I went up on stage and I thought Joe wanted to go, what are you going to do on stage? And I go, dude, it's a surprise. I was like kind of confident because I had like 2 okay spots. And so I decided to do this thing where I go on stage and everyone's talking about, relationship humor and all that shit. And I went on stage and I thought, oh shit, I'm going to talk about my girlfriend and how I'm into her. And then slowly in the act, you're going to realize that that bitch is not my girlfriend. She's just a stripper and I'm giving her money and she's manipulating me. But I'm the dumb comic, delusional comic that thinks that's my girlfriend. And it bombed really bad. And I'll never forget walking off stage and Joe just said, come here, dude. And he turned around and said, come here, follow me. He dragged me out to the parking lot. I said, dude, don't ever fucking do shit like that ever again. And I'm like, fuck. And it just scarred me. And then I decided at that point, you know what? I just don't have the public speaking skills for comedy. I just don't. I just felt awkward. I wasn't smooth. The articulation wasn't fucking there.
So how long did it take you to get back to a place where
I fucking quit?
You quit just entirely for years.
I said, Joe, you know what? Because me and Joe started writing sketches, and the plan was let's do a sketch comedy show.
Mm-hmm.
And we wrote like 30 sketches, and that was cool because we're like at his house, we're smoking weed, we're writing sketches. I would come up with an idea, Joe would make it funny. I'd come up with another idea, Joe would make it funny. Joe just made it funny. I'm like, you know what? Fuck being a stand-up comedian. I don't have the public speaking skills to do it. I have the ideas, but I and plus going like watching Joe on stage being like a fucking samurai Shaolin monk on stage. I'm like, oh my God, I can never be that good. So I decided, you know what? I'll just write with Joe on the side and we'll work on the sketch comedy show. And then he got offered the Man Show. And then Joe called me and goes, dude, we don't even need a picture show. We already got a show, the Man Show. So then I started writing with him on the Man Show. That's an hour story. That was a disaster. But
Yeah, you can either get, there's two things. When you see somebody like a samurai of the art like Joe or like a Sebastian Maniscalco or one of those guys, there's two things. You can either get inspired or you get intimidated, so you can either like be like, oh, I'm never going to do that. And it kind of runs you off, or you see that and you're like, wow, I got to get to work. And that's usually when I see a comedian really destroy a room. Like I would see like Joey Diaz go on like in the main room or the OR, like sold out rooms, and just the thunderous roars and how quickly it was and how constantly it is. To me as a comic, I see that and I'm like, how do I get there? Like, how do I? And then that's where I get inspired. Like, I got to put in a lot more work,
Yeah. I saw that was something that I saw happen to Joe when Dave Chappelle went in the main room right after. It was when he was starting to reemerge after the whole escape to Africa, turning down the $55 million deal on Comedy Central, all that shit. He started to come back. And his act was basically talking about what happened, and he just showed up in the main room, dude. And me and Joe were sitting there and we were losing it. He was destroying. We were buckling. We were looking at each other just like we couldn't even breathe. And after that show, Joe stormed out of the main room, walked towards the parking lot, and I was like behind him. And he was just like on a mission. He goes, I'd never been so inspired to write in all my life. He just wanted to start writing. So just like what you're saying, it could inspire you or make you want to fucking hide under a rock.
Yeah.
Crazy, right? So where did you grow up? You're from the East Coast, right?
Midwest, actually.
Midwest.
Yeah, Kansas.
Kansas.
Yeah, baby.
I had just recently said it to a friend like a couple days ago, like Kansas. That's the one state I've never been to, Kansas.
Okay. Well,
what cities are in Kansas?
I mean, it's Kansas City. I grew up in Overland Park in Olathe.
Isn't Kansas City in St. Louis or in?
It's in Missouri as well. They
Missouri.
They border each other. Like they're cut by the state line. So if you've been to Missouri, you've essentially been to Kansas. They're so similar.
Okay, because I have been to Kansas City, so maybe I was in Kansas. Someone told me we were in Missouri, and I'm like, Kansas City's in Missouri. I don't get it.
Yeah,
so I was confused. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That's where I grew up in the Midwest. I mean, you're not missing out on too much there other than like, if you haven't had barbecue there, that's like the main thing to get the next time that you're in Kansas or Missouri. My favorite, I like it even more than Texas, but I grew up in Kansas City, so I might have, be affected that way.
Did you have brothers and sisters?
Older brother, younger sister.
And what did you want to be when you were like 10?
You know what? I wanted to be when I was super young, I wanted to be a pediatrician. And
wait. How did that happen?
So we did a career day in grade school, and like I think what heavily influenced this was we saw a book that had salary in it. And towards the very back end of the book were the job positions that paid the most. It literally went from like, maintenance worker, like towards the front of this book, to the back end, which was like lawyers, doctors, radiologists, like specialized different things and stuff like that. And I think that as a kid, I'm like, it'd be awesome to make like a ton of money. You know what I mean? And that was, and pediatrician, I'm like, I'm good with kids. I'm good at making them laugh and stuff like that. Like
All my
Like,
friends are kids. My best friends are kids.
Exactly. So I like in my little 10-year-old head, I was like, I want to do that or like or be like an actor or something. But I had no idea in the Midwest, like you don't know how to become a comedian or an actor, like especially before the internet was like really a thing. I would go to the library and get books to research like what I found out later as internet became more of a thing, like in high school and stuff like that for me, was like Second City and the Groundlings and different improv places. I found out that all my favorite comics were either improvisers or they were stand-up comedians.
Sam Tripoli and I are coming to your town. Catch us on the road doing Tinfoil Hat Comedy. Follow me on Instagram at Tinfoil Hat Comedy Night. Go to samtripoli.com for more information and to buy your tickets. See you on the road.
So I was like, okay. As I got older, you kind of figure out like, oh, you can make money and a living like doing that. Like it was mind blowing to me as a kid.
You grew up in the 90s? How old? What year was it when you were 10?
When I was 10, it would have been 98.
Oh my God! So you grew up in the 2000s, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Damn.
like I
You could be my
basically
son.
internet was basically for me. I remember getting that first AOL disc, like two and net zero discs and all that stuff, like for the free 1 hour of internet kind of thing. So the dial up all the way to now. So like I was there right before like the internet like kind of took off and like started to get like kind of big and stuff like that. And I was one of those kids who was always good with tech and stuff like that. And I would help my dad like set up computer stuff at like a young age and like throughout my teens and all that stuff. So I didn't really know, like, you don't know, especially being a kid in the Midwest, there's no comedians or actors that my family knew or my friends knew or anything. So it kind of sounds like a make-believe industry. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to continue with that story, but we're going to fast forward and play. I want the people at home that don't know you to, before we get into your origin story, to see what you're doing now. And this is one of my favorite bits. This is you and Bobby Lee improvising John Lennon and Yoko.
My lovely Yoko.
Oh, yeah, I miss
I
you,
love the
fella.
sound of your voice.
I miss when we sing together.
Would you like to sing again,
Yeah,
Yoko?
yeah. Let's do the Imagine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Imagine
Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no heaven.
Imagine there's no wasabi.
It's easy
So-
if you
The
try.
sushi wouldn't taste good.
No hell below us.
Imagine there's no ninja.
It's just as beautiful as I remember.
Oh, it's so beautiful to me too. How come you like Asian ladies so much? Because when we were dating, you cheated on me one time with another Asian lady. Why you like Asian ladies so much?
I thought it was you.
Oh, because we all look the same.
Yes, that's right.
Play the other one. Here's the other one.
Can I get one more look up there?
Come on.
All right, let me just look real quick. Good Lord. Good Lord. I mean, this thing is nice. It'd be yanking for sure.
Hold on, let me pull this piece back right here.
Oh, God. That is a whole nother section.
Yeah.
That's like a whole nother studio apartment.
It's almost like two pussies.
It's like you just showed me the East Wing and then the West Wing.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's just one. You think them bitches out there got this? No, they don't.
She is hilarious. What's her name?
Trailer Trash Tammy is that character. And then it's her name's Chelsea Lynn, who plays that character. She's
Oh, my
so
God.
fun to improv with.
Oh, dude, she's so good.
Yeah, she's great.
So we fast forwarded to what you have become. So now we're going back. You're
Right.
10 to 15. When do you figure out that you want to be an actor, you want to be a comedian? How does that come about? And
So
what do you
while-
do about it?
So like while I was I literally went like even in middle school, I went in for job day. I went and shadowed a pediatrician. Like I literally like that. That's how long I wanted to do it. Like I was like, oh wow. And basically, like while I'm doing this, I was doing plays at school and doing like the acting thing and like dramas and different stuff like that at school. So like I always had the performance bug in me since I was a little kid. Like I used to, my parents would have me. I've always been good at mimicking voices and doing like impressions and stuff like that. Even like cartoons, even as a little kid, like I could hear something and mimic it right away. So I was always good at that.
Can you do Joe Biden?
Let's see here. Yeah. You get Eddie Bravo's. It's good to be here.
Listen, Jack. Listen, Jack.
Listen, Jack.
What about Trump?
Well, a lot of people are wondering whether or not I can do Trump. Eddie Bravo, it is fantastic to be here on the program with you. You know, we might get into some conspiracy theories. I'm not so sure. We're learning about this young guy right now. We don't know if it's going to be good, whether it's going anywhere. I don't like him. We'll see if you do. We'll see.
And what people don't know, or people that don't know you have an amazing singing voice.
Oh, thank you, brother.
Oh my God,
We've had some.
How many times have we
fun
jammed?
jams?
Yeah, we'll get into the whole jam, all the jams that we've done before.
Yeah.
But give me just a couple lines of Justin Timberlake.
All right. Hey girl, I remember everything that you played. Said then you were moving on now. Maybe we can do the same.
Dude, you have a great voice, man.
Thanks, man.
Okay, so now you're balls deep in being a kid's doctor, and you're in drama, and you're acting. And when did you realize you could sing? Early.
I was the only boy alto in choir.
Oh shit!
It was me and all these girls, because I've always been able to hit the falsetto really well since I was a little kid. And all the other friends of mine, their voices were changing and stuff, and they were like, their voices were cracking and stuff. Mine never really cracked. Like it transitioned pretty but I don't really have a very deep voice even now. But a lot of my friends like went to the more bassy and more baritone kind of singing voices and stuff like that. But mine always stayed like to a mid to kind of alto range. So I would always be paired up for the high sections with the girls.
Awesome.
Back in choir days. Yeah.
Did you ever hook up with any of those girls?
Dude, no.
No. With that voice?
No, it's weird. Looking back, I definitely could have hooked up with a bunch of girls, but I was so focused on, I'm the horse with the carrot dangling in front of me, which is like comedy and that kind of stuff. Like I didn't really get too distracted, really my whole life. Like
Was there ever a time you wanted to be in a band or write music and start writing original stuff?
Yeah. I mean, so that was one kind of cool thing about the pandemic was I got a chance to kind of write a bunch of original songs and stuff like that. I've only released really like one of them. I've got a bunch that I wrote over that like year or whatever. But I definitely thought about it like being in some different bands. I've been in a lot of comedy bands where I had a music duo for years called Reagan and Watkins, where we put out an album and we were touring with that act and stuff like that. And I would play sax and I would sing and I'd play guitar occasionally. And then my buddy, he played guitar and harmonica.
And you guys toured?
Yeah.
Oh shit! So you were in a touring band? Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah. We would go out and like headline little markets here and there, like kind of like one nighters. We never got like to the point where we were doing full weekends, but we do one nighters in like Arizona and California and like Boston and different places like that. Just comedy music, like original songs. We do some parody stuff, but most of it was originals.
Original comedy stuff.
Yeah, and we put out a full like vinyl, like LP. Like we put out like a full album. So yeah, that was actually my first comedy album was that music comedy album. And then a couple of years later, I put out my first stand-up comedy album. So
how did you end up making the transition from Kansas to Hollywood?
So when I was doing research on the internet, I was saying like these improv schools kept coming up. and there's not really a stand-up school, like not that's like, revered or respected by anybody
Yeah.
across the board. They exist. I've heard of some comics that do them, and if it works for them, that's great. But there's not like a brand that's kind of honored that's across the nation. And I kept seeing that Second City, like Chris Farley, one of my favorites ever. He's one of my guys as far as like comedic inspiration of guys who I look up to. He went to Second City and a place called IO, Improv Olympic in Chicago. And I was looking between moving to LA, Chicago, or New York before coming out to from Kansas. I'm like, I know I want to do this. I want to do stand up. I want to do improv. I have no idea how to get started as a kid from Kansas. And LA had a Second City. And I was like, oh, great. I want to move to one of these, and like LA has the best living conditions, and I want to do a lot of stuff like comedy, acting, music. LA sounds the best for me for what I'm trying to do. So I moved out to LA, signed up for Second City classes, and they started letting me intern there after I was hanging out there so much after a while. And that ended up, I paid for all my classes with intern hours at Second City.
How do you make the move though? You just don't pack your bags. I mean, were your parents behind you? How much money did you have to save? What did you come out by yourself or with a girlfriend, with a friend?
So I knew nobody out here. I made a road trip out here with a couple buddies, and we looked at Craigslist spots to see who needed a roommate. So I literally would look at Craigslist and see what places were open. And then I would go to the place and check out the room and see what was up. And I put in an offer on one place that the rent back then, it was a 3-bedroom with 1 bathroom in Hollywood that was $600 a month. And oh yeah, it's the cheapest I found by far. And somebody was ahead of me, and the landlord's like, hey, if this guy's credit falls through, then the place is yours. That guy's credit fell through. He called me. He's like, do you want it? And I said, yep. And he called me when I was back in Kansas after that short road trip. And then within a couple weeks, I was out living in LA. I packed up my car. My dad and my brother helped me pack up my car. And my brother drove with me out to LA. He was old enough to rent a truck to help me get like a bed and like furniture, like a dresser and stuff like that. So he rented a U-Haul for me. And he helped me move into my LA apartment. And then he was gone 2 days later, and I was all alone in my new place with the roommates in LA. And luckily I got a supportive family that they were like, you got to go chase your dreams, that kind of thing. But I came out to LA with $4,000 in my bank account. I was like, this is enough to last me to at least get a job, because I knew I needed to get a job immediately. But I was like, I got $4,000. And this is enough to get me started out here.
How did you get that 4,000? What were you doing in Kansas?
Oh, I worked like crazy in Kansas. So I was, before I moved out to Kansas, I was working full time at a car wash, and I was also working at a radio station. I was doing morning radio in Kansas City.
You were washing cars. Wow.
Year round in Kansas.
Washing cars. So all day, how many cars do you think you washed on an average day? Like 10? And way more.
Oh, way more. It was more like at least 15 to 20, like at least. Like
every day.
Oh, every day. Because it all depends.
Cars down.
It all depends. Some cars just get the exterior, and those were the ones that you were trying to always get, because you could move on to the next one, and the likeliness of not getting stiffed on a tip.
Yeah.
Your percentage goes way down if you're spending 3 minutes on a car just drying it versus 15 minutes on a car with like a bunch of stuff. And then if somebody doesn't tip you, then you're screwed.
Yeah. Yeah. So you were washing cars.
Oh, yeah.
What was the other job you had?
Morning radio in Kansas City.
Oh, what'd you do on that? Like
I
as an
did
engineer or something?
I was like an on-air sidekick for a little bit. I did like man on the street segments. I answered the phones. I'd give away prizes on the phone, and then I would banter with the main DJ. They loved the fact that I was a virgin, so they would always do segments around me being a virgin on the show and different like stuff like that.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
that probably didn't pay anything though, right?
No, it paid. I think, if I remember correctly, it was like $8.25 an hour. But I was on the air, and all the interns at the station hated me because I was 19 with an on-air radio position, which is like unheard of for any market. You know what I mean? To be like an actual cast member, like on a show.
Did they bring up your car washing? Was that part of your persona as well?
No, you know what got me a job was a comedic music video for that. I sent in something. I made this ridiculous video about how I was in love with Oprah, like Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah.
And they thought it was hilarious. It was a music video. I made this original song where I was singing about how much I love Oprah, and it was called A Love Ballad for Oprah. And it was like this R&B kind of pop song, and I shot it in my basement and around my place. And I've edited the video myself and sent it in for them. I was like, they were looking for funny people to work the job. And then they sent me out with a Zoom recorder, an old Zoom recorder, and they had me interview people in the street with this Zoom recorder, like me holding it like a brick up to my mouth and then up to people interview style.
Okay.
And then I ended up getting the job.
And you were doing both those jobs right before you made the move.
It was one of the busiest I've ever been. I was doing morning radio from 6 to 10 a.m. Then 11 to like 3:30, I was working the car wash. And then I was going full-time night school before I moved out to LA. And when I got my associate's degree, that's when I was like, all right, I'm moving out to LA.
Damn. Hard worker. No wonder you were a virgin.
No time.
No time for pussy.
No, it was a treat for me to see like a movie theater movie like on a Friday night because I was so busy. I was like, this is amazing. Like if I had time to do that, I was like, this is great.
So then you take this road trip out with your friends, couple friends?
Yeah, because they were on the bubble. They were thinking about moving too. So like we were all kind of looking at places like, oh, it'd be cool. Like if we could find a place, but they were kind of like on the bubble about it. And I was the only one that I was like, if I find a place, I'm signing like an application, like right here, right now.
And how many days did you stay out on that road trip? Was it like a week, 2 weeks?
That was just a week. That was just like a quick, like even less than a week, to be honest.
You guys drove? How long did the drive take?
The 25-hour drive.
25-hour drive?
Yeah.
Straight? You guys were rotating?
We would rotate, but we would go straight through. We didn't stop at any hotels. We just keep driving.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, you guys get on Craigslist, you find a couple spots, you get back to Kansas, one of those spots come through, and now you're like, fuck that. You moved out. You went with your brother helped you move. You got 4K. What was the first job you got when you were out in Hollywood?
First job I got.
What cross street were you on? What's the cross street? It's the first place that you lived in Hollywood.
Santa Monica and Cahuenga Boulevard.
Damn, right there?
Right there.
Santa Monica and Cahuenga. Shit, okay.
Bro, I used to literally skateboard to Second City on Hollywood Boulevard. And then I was literally a 6-minute drive to the Comedy Store.
Yeah.
It was perfect location for your first spot in LA. I couldn't have found a better spot.
My first spot in Hollywood was off La Brea and Hollywood Boulevard, like right there. It was Sycamore and Hollywood Boulevard.
Oh yeah,
this is 1990.
right by the old tavern, like right, like it was straight up the street from Sycamore on Sunset.
Yes, yeah, no, exactly. You're right.
Yeah,
but this was Sycamore and Hollywood Boulevard. It was it was a hotel in 1852. You know, it was an old building, and it was one room. Me and a roommate. It was like a hotel. Like you go into a hotel, it's like one room. That's what it was. And we stapled a black sheet across the ceiling. Like that was my room. That's your room. $495 a month. 1991. Yeah. Now, what year was it when you made the move to Hollywood?
2009.
2009. Okay.
Yeah.
And how old were you?
I was 20 when I moved out to.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
By yourself. Your friends didn't make it. You came out by yourself. How long did it take you to find a job? And what was that first couple weeks like? Do you remember?
Oh yeah. First job that I found was again through Craigslist. That was the spot back in the day.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's where I'd
that's the
find
internet.
jobs, like a little bit of everything. There was this job it was music promotion for artists. So this was back when MySpace was still a big thing, right?
Hell yeah.
So what the job entailed, it was they had a bunch of leads for you that were like printed out, and you would call up these different artists that they had found on MySpace, and they're like, "Hey, we're interested in you as a company. Like, we'd love to put together an electronic press kit for you and get your stuff together, and shop you around to different agencies and different stuff like that." So they did, they would put together a press kit for you, but I found out later after I'd worked there for a bit, I had like a weird feeling about the company because I was like, I would keep asking like, what kind of results are we getting for these people? You know what I mean? Other than like, I know we're making a little portfolio for them, but like what are we, what are we doing? And they would always like kind of like write me off, like be like, yeah, we've done this, a little bit of that. Turns out I was working for a scam. It was a scam company.
That's what it sounds like. Yeah.
Yeah. And when I found out that it was a scam, I stopped working there. And I happened to get a job at Starbucks after I'd been working there a couple months. Because like I did the math on how many hours I was putting in. I wasn't good at the job. I wasn't good at selling this imaginary product to people.
Yeah.
I was making like $1 an hour there, bro. Like because it was all commission based. So like the first couple months I was there, I was looking, I was like, I'm making like $1 an hour at this job.
You were getting scammed as an employee.
Yes.
And the company was scamming the customers.
Yes.
Everybody getting scammed.
Everybody's getting scammed.
Yeah. I got caught in a scam like that too, but I was like, I was one of the customers. Like those fake modeling agencies that
of course.
The fake ones where they pretend they're a modeling agency, but really they're just a photography studio. But they get you in. You want to be a model. You want easy money. And me trying to be a rock star, I just wanted a job. When you're trying to be a rock star, the job that pays your rent has got to be a job that doesn't take any energy, because you need to save your energy to rehearse with the band. You can't work manual labor 8 hours and then go rehearse with your band. It doesn't work. So as an aspiring rock star, you want, like, the dream jobs were jobs where you get to sit down and not move and get paid for it.
Of course.
If you could just like the dream job for me was the guy before the electronic gas stations and shit, where you had to go up. Well, they still kind of have. There's a guy that sits in a booth and he takes your money and you go $10 on pump 4, $9 on pump 3, and the guy takes the money and then he presses buttons.
Sure.
Dude, to me, that was the dream job for a musician. You get to sit there. You could even practice guitar while you're sitting there.
Right.
And yeah. So, anyway, so when you see these ads like, ooh, earn $500 an hour being a model, you could be a model. And I'm a fucking little idiot kid. I'm like, damn, okay, let me go check this out. And then, of course, they're going to say, oh my God, you have so much potential. Oh my God.
You have such a great look.
Oh my God. Yes, you could we want to sign you. And they sit you down. You're like, what? I'm like, holy shit. They want me to be a fucking model. God damn. And then you're all, and then they let you talk shit to all your friends and family for a day. You know what I mean? They fucking make you dig that hole, and then you talk shit. And then when you come back, they go, oh yeah, but we need to make a portfolio out of and it's going to cost $500.
Yep.
Like, oh shit. And you just told everybody bragging like, I'm gonna be a fucking model. Shit, they want to fucking pay me $500 an hour type shit, and then really you got scammed. And I fucking did it, dude. I fucking bought that fucking portfolio, dude. And they never get you one fucking job. No, there was this one weird audition thing that I went to. It was weird. It was like some kind of weird, I don't know what was going on, but it was a weird audition for some performance group. And then I got on stage and they wanted me to dance. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? But besides that, there was nothing. Nothing. And then all of a sudden they call me. They call me and they go, they couldn't even fucking believe it. They couldn't even believe that somebody asked for me personally. They're like, it doesn't make any sense. They go, yeah, I get a phone call from the fucking agency that just ripped me off. And they go, yeah, we got a job for you. They asked for you specifically. I go, what? They go, yeah, they asked for Edgar Bravo specifically. Edgar is my real name. And I'm like, they asked for me? And they go, yeah, I don't know what, but here's the address. And, it's 2:00, whatever. They asked for you. They want, can you make it? I'm like, yeah, holy shit. Hung up the phone. I couldn't believe it. They asked for me? They asked for Edgar Bravo personally. Oh my God, I'm going to fucking make it. They saw the fucking inner star in me. They saw that shit. And I couldn't fucking believe it. I showed up to this fucking big ass, it was in Culver City. I show up. As soon as I open the office, there's a secretary sitting there. She goes, Edgar Bravo? I'm like, yeah. She goes, have a seat. Boom. I'm like, what? And I'm sitting there in the waiting room. I'm like, I walked in and she looked at me and said, Edgar Bravo? I say, yeah. I couldn't believe it. It's better than I even imagined. The secretary was waiting for me. So I'm like sitting there in the waiting room. I couldn't I'm thinking I'm going to be a fucking superstar.
Right.
I'm 19 years old. 19, thinking, dude, they know what's up. They know what's up. Shit, I try to tell those motherfuckers. I try to fucking tell you, motherfucker. And I was so confident. And then someone else walks in, and then I could hear in the periphery. She goes, Edgar Bravo? And the person said, yes. I'm like, what? And then another person sits in the waiting room. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I'm like, holy shit. I'm just sitting there like, why did they say my name when this other person walked in? And then another person walks in. They go, Edgar Bravo? And I'm sitting in the waiting room going, what? Why are they calling everybody? Is there everybody Edgar Bravo? I goes, and then we said that. Goes, your name is Edgar Bravo? And she goes, no. Because we're here to see Edgar Bravo. I go, I'm Edgar Bravo. They go, what? You're Edgar Bravo. I go, I'm Edgar. So I went up to the secretary chick and I said, what's up with Edgar Bravo? She goes, yeah, this is Edgar Bravo's office. I go, Edgar Bravo, I'm Edgar Bravo. She goes, no, this office. This is Edgar Bravo's a producer. He's a casting director. I'm like, oh my God, there was a mix up in the names. It all came. I'm like, they weren't asking for me. They had called someone in that fake talent agency and they said Edgar Bravo, and whoever answered the phone probably remembered my name. And they said, yeah, we have Edgar Bravo here. And I go, okay, we were looking for Edgar Bravo. And it was just a big mix up in the name. It turns out there's a movie producer, a Spanish movie producer named Edgar Bravo, Spanish movies. My Spanish is horrible. I'm Mexican, and I was the first one in my giant Mexican family to lose the language. Mm-hmm. So I'm there, and then Edgar Bravo comes out, and we're like talking about the mix-up, and he can't believe it. He shows me his ID. I show him his ID. He's like, oh my God, how crazy. And he goes, you know what? Come back here and let's do an audition anyways. I mean, this has to mean something. Yeah. So he took me in the back and he gave me some lines, and he wanted me to improv in Spanish. He set up like a scene.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm gonna give you a shot. Man, you're here, maybe. And I'm like, my Spanish is no good. He goes, you just got to give it a shot. Give it a shot. Here's the situation. I don't even remember the situation, but I just remember that it was the worst audition possible, dude. Dude, my Spanish was so bad, and I was trying my hardest because I kept thinking, shit, oh my God, people are gonna
maybe book
at
this.
me. All my friends and my family are gonna fuck. They'll never. They're gonna tell this story every Thanksgiving. They're never going to let me forget this story. So I'm like, I had to make this audition work. And I tried my hardest, but I just remember him just sitting there going, Okay. We'll call you if we need you. It was like bombing on stage with comedy, but trying to do comedy in a different language.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Imagine trying to do comedy in Spanish.
It's pretty rough.
Yeah. So yeah, that was my Edgar Bravo story. God damn it! I thought I was gonna be famous. Shit.
I had one scam because there when I first moved to LA, it's like they can sniff you from wherever state you're from. Like they know that there's a ton of desperate people always moving to LA. So they're going to capitalize on that as much as possible.
Yes.
There's a place because I was looking for radio jobs. I was like, I've worked the radio market in Kansas City. Maybe I can get a job as, a lower level position at one of these facilities out here. I worked for a company called Intercom, which is one of the main radio, national radio outlets in the different states. And I was like, maybe I can work for this company out there. Tried to get in, couldn't. Found an audition for a radio network. It was called something like American Radio Network, right? And it was this old shady building. When I rolled up, I was like, this looks a little beat up. But I had been in some other radio stations before, and sometimes the outside is just not kept up and the inside is still working facilities, whatever. I go into audition for it, and they give me copy to read. And basically, you're auditioning to see if you are going to be on-air talent for their network. And it was a bunch of other people that were waiting in the room. And I was like, ooh, this is like tough competition. They called in a bunch of people, that's how I'm looking at it. I'm like, oh, I gotta read well. I do the audition, and then they're like, that was great. We want to give you a spot on our network. And I was like, really?
Dude, it's so easy to get us, dude. It's so easy.
I know.
It's like the tourists that they show up and they take those star tours on the buses. You only do that once. There's never repeat customers.
Right.
So,
It's
but
a
they
turn
don't
and burn
care.
mentality.
They don't care. They got new tourists coming in all the time. They don't give a fuck. They're not relying at all on you coming back. They know you ain't coming back.
No.
But they got you that once. So
I do this, and basically this was before podcasts was really a thing, right? Or it wasn't popular yet, They say that they want to give me my own station.
Your own station. And then they let you talk shit for a day or two to all your friends.
So basically, they're like, yeah, it's on AM, but they were gonna give me one of those random like point, like
they're
10,
gonna sell it to you, but you gotta
10,
pay.
20. Yeah,
you gotta
but
pay the
you
transfer fee.
You have to pay. They're like, it goes out on the internet, and we have like a great following that's gonna be listening to you. And I called up I got in touch with my old DJ who was at that station in Kansas City. I was like, have you ever heard of American Radio Network? He goes, no. He goes, I've been in the business for over 30 years. He goes, you need to run from them. He goes, don't give them any more of your info. Don't take their calls, nothing. He goes, they are trying to scam you. He said, they are trying to prey on your dreams. I'll never forget that. Somebody trying to prey, like literally like a tiger hunting you in the wild. They're trying to prey on your dreams. That's what he said.
Totally. That's perfect.
Yeah.
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 Oh my God. So you ran. You listened to it.
I ran. I listened to it because for a second there, I was like, whoa, am I going to have like my own radio show? Like, you know what I mean? And then I called somebody and he's like, dude, this is not legit at all.
Dude, there's so much of that shit.
There's a lot. I went to one of those agencies early on that they made the mistake though with me of they told me at the end of the meeting that they said that they were going to take 30% rather than the 10%, which is it's 10% across the board. Whether you're manager, agent, they're like, we're going to take 30. And then at the end, they're like, we want you to see our headshot photographer. It only costs $500. And to me, I was like, $500. That's a crazy amount of money. Like I have $4,000 to my name. Like I can't, you know what I mean? Like that's most of my money. And I asked around. Luckily, like when I've been working at Starbucks and stuff, I'm like, is it normal for them to take this much of a percentage? And is it normal to get $500 headshots? And I had enough people who I started to get to know that they're like, you need to leave, you get out of there. So I got good friends, luckily, who gave me tips that were like, stay away from that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's so much of that, and it's easy prey because everyone is,
You're so
attracted to
desperate
Hollywood,
and you want it so bad, man.
Oh my God, yes, yeah. Oh man. And like those books, they for musicians, everybody gets those books with all the addresses to all the record labels so that you could send demo tapes in. So they you go to Guitar Center and they got that fucking book, dude, every record label's address, and everybody had that shit. If you were a musician and you were
they had the same thing for acting agencies. I remember, dude, I remember going into years ago. I tried to go walk into CAA with like a headshot, a resume, and all this stuff, and I got stopped at the door. I was like, "Hey, where are your drop offs?" And they're like, "What?" I go, "Yeah, where can I drop off my headshot and resume?" They're like, "We don't do that here. We're CAA." I was like, "Okay." I couldn't even get in the building, but the lower level agencies, they had drop offs where you could, for consideration, drop off your headshot and resume and different stuff like that. And that's how I got one of my first commercial agencies, was actually through one of those mail outs where I mailed out my stuff to like almost 100 agencies, and a few of them responded. And that was one of the agencies. One of my first commercial agencies was through a blind mail submission.
Yeah. I got a response too. When I first came out, right when we came out, me and my buddy James, we made a demo tape. And it was like rap, metal, goth, electronica, weird shit, like 91, 92. And bought one of those books, sent a demo tape to every goddamn record label. And we got fucking response right away from Rachel Matthews from Hollywood Basic Records, which was owned by Disney.
Yeah.
And we set up a showcase. Showcase was a disaster. She showed up with Steve Jones. They show up, they get up after. In the middle of the first song, they walk out. We watch them. We watch them walk out. And, we thought we were going to get signed. We thought, oh, this is it. This is the part of the story
this is the moment.
We blow up. Yeah, this is where it all happens. And they walk the fuck out. But the mail out did work, though. It did.
That one worked.
Yeah. Yeah. So did you ever do extra work?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Oh,
so did I.
Yeah, bro. Dude, I randomly the apartment that I moved into, it was an old house that the owner cut in half and made a duplex, right?
Okay.
So it was this duplex, but then behind the duplex was an eightplex apartment. It was a very weird setup. So like it's a gate, and then there's a house, and then behind the house is another 8 apartments, and then underneath that apartment was where the you could park your car.
Okay.
And one of my neighbors, he happened to work at LA Casting, which is like they cast like all the background stuff for like a lot of these movies and TV shows. He goes, I don't know if you want or whatever, but if you want, I could get you some background work. I was like, you can give me I'm like, that'd be the best thing. Yeah, that'd be amazing. So he got me multiple gigs for background work. And so I worked on 90210 when they did that reboot. I worked on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I worked on Entourage when that was on, which was a cool, it was one of those weird Hollywood full circle moments. I did background work and was riffing with Piven like literally in 2009 or 10 when I was fresh off the boat from Kansas. And at a show recently, I was on the same show as him where I was the comic closing out the night. And I was like, this is just kind of a weird full circle moment for me, because like I did background work with that dude, and now I'm closing out the show that he did a spot on. Like, to me, that's crazy, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. I did extra stuff too. Like I said, as an aspiring rock star, you just want to do the easiest, low energy job possible. And if, acting, when I came out to Hollywood, you hear about, oh, you could be an extra, you get, $40 a day. I'm 21 years old. I'm like, I'll do like whatever. Like
Mine was
extra shit.
64 a day. 64 a day. Yeah.
And I did 3 extra gigs. I know for sure 2, but there's got to be one other extra gig I did. But one of them I did an extra gig for Corey Feldman, Corey Haim movie, that one of their last movies when they were on their downside, when it was like just collapsing, they're all heroined out and everything. It was Rock and Roll High. Remember that Rock and Roll High School with the Ramones in the 70s? That was a Rock and Roll High School. Rock and Roll High School. It's like an 80s, late 70s, early 80s high school movie that the Ramones were in. Well, Corey Haim and Corey Feldman were in a reboot kind of thing called Rock and Roll High Forever. So they're like in a high school, but it's like a dumbest movie ever. But I was the dude in the classroom. I had long hair down to my waist. I'm like the metal dude. So my job was to be just in the background, the only dude with long hair, to have a Walkman on, and I'm headbanging the whole time. So no matter what scene is going on, they want me headbanging. I'm the headbanger. I'm like oblivious to everything, headbanging. And I thought that was the dumbest shit ever. But I'm like, fuck, okay. So I would just like kind of move a little bit, you know what I mean? And the director's like, we want you to really headbang, like more. And I'm like, oh. So then I'd be like a little bit, more intense. And they were like, cut. We need you to really, we need energy, more energy. And I'm like, So then I started headbanging like this. That's more like it, just keep that going. So they wanted me headbanging in the background. And I was fucking furious. Had a leather jacket. I'm the metal dude in school. And they could half the time they couldn't find Corey Haim and Corey Feldman. Like the producer, like, well, where did you see him last? Well, he was in the parking lot. Well, you find him. They can't find them and shit. And then there was this other scene where they used me at twice. So I'm the headbanger in the classroom, and I'm also the guy they had didn't show up, but they had a scene where it was detention from hell. And detention from hell, they like pan through like dudes that have been in detention forever. Like they'll have a pilgrim who's like a skeleton pilgrim, and he's like still in detention. And then they have like an Indian in detention. And then they have a 70s punker, Sex Pistols dude in prison, or still in detention. And then like someone from every era, detention from hell. These guys been in detention forever. So I ended up being the punk guy that was in detention since the 70s. But they were but since the punk dude didn't show up, they thought they could take my long hair that was down to my waist and grease it up into a mohawk. So and it would have been like the tallest mohawk ever.
Yeah.
And they dyed my hair red and blue, and they were going to make a mohawk, but the hair would never stay. It would always just collapse. It was too long. And so then they just said, fuck it. They left it red and blue, and they just left it long. And I was still the punk dude that's been in detention for 20 years. It's the dumbest movie ever, but I also did a Menace to Society, low budget type movie, like a South Central gangbanger movie. And I was like, there was a club scene and everyone's dancing. And I was just a random dude dancing in the club. And they cut to me real tight too, like for a split second before they went to the next scene. We were doing like a move called the Rooster. It was very important that we all did the Rooster in this particular scene. We were practicing in the alley. They had a choreographer, like everyone got to do the Rooster. I'm like, okay, so we're practicing the Rooster, and they got to that one was called, Street Wars. Street Wars. Then I did some like stunt work later on through the UFC and ridiculous movies. Oh, that'll take forever to talk about. Maybe next time. But now, what's your first break in comedy? Like, what club did you finally find your way in and get regular spots?
Well, I want to say I mean, the Comedy Store is kind of the first place. Well, the Second City, first off and foremost, was a place where I started getting the most stage time. They were really good to me as far as like I would do sketch shows there, and then I'd do improv shows, and that's where I started my show, Stand Up on the Spot, was actually at Second City. And
Okay.
I've been doing that show since 2010. So
That's
like
where Tom Segura went to, right? Didn't Tom Segura go there? Or was it Groundlings?
he, I think, went to Groundlings.
Groundlings and Second City, they hate each other? Are they rivals?
No, it's just a different way of doing improv. They teach kind of different things. It's all the same thing, but there's different ways to kind of get there, if that makes sense.
But it's basically improv.
It's kind of like, okay, you know how there's different like forms of jujitsu and martial arts? It's kind of that, where it's like the main thing is fighting, but like you get more specific with the skill sets under the different schools that you go to.
Okay.
Just the way that they teach, like, you know, how some like techniques are more about being on the floor versus like grappling or whatever, you know what I mean? If I'm
That makes sense.
painting
That
the
makes
right
sense.
analogy.
So do you remember any of your first sketches you wrote? What was the first off the top of your head?
Ooh. Oh man, we did I did this one sketch that I really liked, that instead of like a singing telegram, it was a buddy and I, we did this for our review show. It was waiters at a restaurant that were hired. They were tipped to break up with the person at the table. So instead of a singing telegram, it was like they were hiring these waiters who had guitars to go up to a table and break it off with the guy. Like the girl paid them money. It was like a very silly thing, right? So like we basically were kind of roasting the guy while we were playing guitar, of like all the problems with their relationship,
Totally.
and dumping him in public in front of the whole restaurant, kind of thing.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. So that was one that I remember that like it went over well, and it was like just like a fun premise that was for the review. And then I did one scene that we wrote that was like an interrogation scene of this guy who, one of my buddies, he was just so horrible at doing accents, right? So when he would try to do an Irish accent, it would come off like Hispanic. When he tried to do Hispanic, it would come off Austrian. Do you know what I mean? Like he had no skill in that. So we made a sketch out of it where his accent would change while I'm interrogating him as a cop in the room. And then basically, so every time it would change, so it was part improv, part sketch, because I didn't really know when his accent would start to be really bad, because he was not naturally just not good at it. So we would do this thing where when his accent would change, I would be like, "Where are you actually from? You keep changing your accent." Like it was like this constant thing, and we would get into a slap fight. Like I would slap him, "Tell me where you're from." Then we'd full on be slapping each other on stage while this was going on, and that was another fun one that was just like ridiculous.
And then how did you? Was your first? What was your first big break? Was it working on Tony Hinchcliffe's Kill Tony?
I wouldn't say no. I wouldn't say that. Definitely one of the breaks for sure. That gave me like a big, as far as like a platform to perform on in front of. I think one of the first real breaks that I had was first of all, it was a commercial that kind of like allowed everything to start, like me pursuing comedy and stuff full time, as I booked a national commercial where it paid my bills for a year straight. So like that,
what commercial was that? Verizon?
It was for the 2012 Chevy Volt.
The car and shit, or what? What were you doing?
No, I was a dopey fast food employee when I had hair down to here, and I was like a to-go order, like a drive-through guy. Like I had the mic, the headset and everything.
Okay.
And like, I'm like, listen to the guy describe like his electric car and stuff like that. And like I accidentally eat his burger because I'm so out of it. And he's like, "Did you just take a bite of my burger?" And I'm like,
And that's the commercial.
"That's the commercial." Yeah, it's just me and one guy. We're going back and forth
And that blew you up. That financially.
financially for a year. Yeah, that allowed me to literally start pursuing comedy full time because I quit my job at Starbucks and I was able to start doing little hosting gigs, little feature gigs. My first like break in comedy was Bobby Lee taking me on the road. That was my first break in comedy.
How did that happen? How did
He saw me at the Comedy Store.
And you were at the Comedy Store on an open mic night?
Oh yeah, I worked my way up from potluck to paid regular. It's a hard path, but it's not done as much as it used to be because like now kind of the way things do it is they hire you as a door guy if they're maybe interested, or you get enough heat on you from around the scene to then showcase later and get it. But I worked my way up from open micer to paid regular between 2000 summer 2011, and then I became a paid regular in 2016. So it took me like a full 5 years to make it happen.
That was still Sunday nights open mic?
It used to be Sunday and Monday, and then they switched it to Monday about halfway through the time that I was doing it.
So you were going up on Monday nights?
Yeah, Monday nights.
Man, people were showing up?
Monday hit or miss,
night.
bro. Sometimes it would be
three people
three people in the audience, and then other times you would get a full crowd. But when you, after the potluck, when you graduate to like the friends and family, that's what they call it. They call you a non-paid regular. You're in this limbo state where the store is showing interest in you, but you can't park in the lot. Your name's not on the wall. You're not calling in to get those 15-minute spots, but you can call in on Mondays to get one spot, maybe a week. That's a 5-minute spot. That's like a cold open before the real shows that are going on around the Comedy Store. So I did that. I was in that I got quickly bumped up from open mic to that middle area at right at the beginning of 2012. So 2012 to 2016 was when I was fully just chipping away at those like development spots is what they call them. And then eventually in 2016, I showcased after the third time with a year in between showcasing. I got it on the third time. With
Bobby Lee was one of the first comedians to recognize you?
He saw me on the potluck. I had a great set. He used to go back in the day before he had like consistent girlfriends or anything like that. He would just go. He didn't have anything to do on Monday nights. He would go hang out at potluck, watch the comics, laugh at the ones that he liked, and then he would pull people aside that he liked after they would go up. And I had a great set. And he told me, he goes, "Your energy's great," but I was like throwing myself all over the stage. He goes, "That's a short-term thing, what you're doing with your body on stage." He goes, "You got to be more careful." He goes, I'm just saying, like what you just did. He goes, "You're not going to be able to sustain that like with your career. So just keep that in mind."
What the hell were you doing?
Oh, I was, dude, doing pratfalls, throwing myself into the stools, tackling the stool, I've always been very physical on stage. I used to lay out on stage a lot more, like for different like bits that I had.
Yeah.
But and then became a little bit more dialed in with my physicality as the years went on. But he pulled me aside and he said that he thought I was great and he thought I was really funny and that he thinks that I should be on a sketch show and that I should do that someday. And he started like seeing me and he invited me on the road to open for him. And then I did well on the road opening for him. And then I hosted for him for years. And then I featured for him for years. And yeah, that was my
Bobby
first.
Lee, he discovered you.
He's the guy as far as like who started showing me like love and stuff like that. There's multiple guys. Tony was another guy who he started taking me on the road. I've been on the road more with Tony Hinchcliffe than anybody as far as like stand-up shows and Kill Tony and all that stuff. Like,
yeah. So you were also opening for Tony, non-Kill Tony, right? You were just
right.
Okay.
Right. We would go out on the road. We did his Monster Energy Drink tour where it was just 2-man shows. I would go cold open with 30, bring him out. He'd do an hour. That's the show. Like no host. He would ask in every city, specifically in his contract. He's like, "We don't need locals." He goes, "I got my guy. I want him to go on, kill, and then bring me up." That's the show. So we did that all around the country. And that was a great
Damn.
experience.
Now,
Yeah.
back up a little bit. How did that come about? How do you go from how do you and Tony first meet, and how does he end up asking you to open for him?
Well, Tony was also, he was instrumental in there was multiple people who vouched for me at the store, right? One thing that Tony liked about me right away. So Benji Aflalo, he was the first guy to be like, he told the talent coordinator, "Hey, watch this guy." He like went out on a limb and he's like, "Hey, I think you should watch this guy." And this is when I was
Tony
doing
said that.
Benji Aflalo.
Oh, okay.
And then Tony would go on, he would say that for me as well. So I had a couple hosts of the potluck on Mondays that would tell the talent coordinator at the time, his name was Tommy, you need to watch this guy. He does new material every week, and he riffs with the crowd, and he does a new set every single week, because that was very strategic. I would do new stuff because I'd see the same comics doing the same material every week for a dude in the booth who's not wanting to pay attention because he's already heard it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I'm doing that, I started doing a new set every single week. Tony noticed that, and Benji noticed that, and they'd start putting me up and giving me better spots, like either on the potluck. And then when I became friends and family, they started putting me and giving me good spots on that. But they were very important to helping me like get into the store, because I had two guys who were door guys there that were vouching for me. And then they became paid regulars like in that process. It was around the time when I don't think they were paid regulars quite yet, but they were door guys and MCs at the store, and they vouched for me really hard. So it was like a handful. I kept getting vouched for by different comics that were respected within the Comedy Store. Like Ralphie May was another guy who, dude, he was a guy who fought for me so hard. Ralphie May.
Wow.
Yeah. And Jeff Ross, I mean, with Roast Battle and all that stuff, like he's another guy at the Comedy Store who I was doing Roast Battle, and I would go out and open for Jeff on the road occasionally. And there's like a handful of guys who've like been super, helped me with my comedy career. And even with my stand up on the spot show, Rogan loved doing the show so much, he kept bringing it up on JRE, where the name became a recognizable name just from him literally talking about it. And then, he kept doing the show in the belly room and then telling other people that they should do it. And he helped me kind of like raise just the awareness of the brand of the show and like what the show is,
Now, you were opening for Tony Hinchcliffe first, and then it developed into you and him teaming up and Kill Tony. Was he already doing Kill Tony and then he added you, or did you guys start doing it together?
He was doing so. I actually was one of the panelists on one of the first episodes of Kill Tony. Okay. So like Tony and I had already been friends for a while through potluck and the Comedy Store, and he knew that I was funny off the cuff and that was one of my strengths. So he's like, hey, come be a panelist on this new show, this new podcast that I'm doing. And I was like, oh, sure. So I did one of the first episodes of that. And then he had me on as a panelist when he did the show in La Jolla, when I was opening up for him in La Jolla that weekend. So he was already starting to take me on the road a little bit here and there. And then when Kill Tony, when we teamed up for that, Pat Reagan, the musician who I mentioned earlier, who I did a duo with, he invited me to come sit in with him as the band on Kill Tony after Tony he had this Iron Patriot thing that was on for a while, where he'd have a guest comic dress up as the Iron Patriot and riff little things in between the comics and stuff like that. So I did the Iron Patriot, and then it morphed into the band later on, where Pat Reagan asked me to guest, and then it just worked, became a more permanent fixture. We started dressing up, doing characters, and brought in Joel Jimenez, and then it became the band that, where we added Chroma Chris and Jesse Johnson, where it became like a bigger and more grandiose thing, where we moved to the main room of the Comedy Store. And but yeah, I did part of the cast of Kill Tony for like over 5 years, I think. So it was a good chunk of time.
And now does Kill Tony still have a band? And they
do. They're musicians. They're like a legit good band that they have in Texas. So they don't do like the characters, and they're not comedians, but they're just great musicians.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Interesting. Wow. So what's gone on since you departed from Kill Tony? It seems like, I mean, I follow you on Instagram. It seems like you're just getting bigger and bigger, and that you got Jeremiah. You have like at least 2 different podcasts, right?
Jeremiah Wonders, Scissor Bros, and then we're more consistently putting out these stand up on the spots as like a series on YouTube, which has been awesome.
And that's growing.
That's been amazing. Like I just did one in New York with, I mean, the lineup.
Oh, you're taking that on the road now.
Yeah, I do it occasionally on the road now too. Like the goal is to start doing stand up on the spots, like where I can take it to a different scene and get the comics who are the best and the killers in every scene, like in Portland and Chicago and Texas. Like we've done one already in Houston, Austin, and New York. And then I've got plans coming up to do one, I think, coming up here in St. Louis and Cincinnati. And yeah, so I'm trying to do it on the road, but also in LA at the same time.
That's badass. And the thing that makes that so unique is it's supposed to be all material you've never done before, like off the cuff.
No material, all based on audience suggestions. The audience is yelling suggestions out, and we're creating stand up on the spot based off of what they yell out. So
now, if they yell out something that triggers like an old bit, are you allowed to do that?
I tell the comics, because that's a question that I get asked all the time. I tell them, I encourage them to say, "Hey, I already got a bit on that. What else we got?" Or take it in a new direction that's not your material. Because the whole point of the show is to see what you can come up with right then and there on the spot. You know what I mean? That's like that's kind of the exercise. That's kind of the pureness of comedy. Musicians consider it like a jazz session, like a jam, because it's like you're working off the crowd, like you're coming up with stuff in the moment. You're seeing if this sounds good, this is funny. Like you're really like kind of like putting yourself out there. So
it obviously improv and jamming, it doesn't work all the time to get like the best stuff, right? I mean,
sure.
Generally, you just don't.
But sometimes you're
just don't
vibing.
go out there and play a concert and jam stuff. They have like songs that from their album that they're gonna play and stuff. So, but is there any time where it doesn't work at all for like a while? You know what I mean? Like no one's coming up with funny shit.
Oh no, for sure.
Yeah, because it can't always work. You can't always come up with great shit.
My sets are literally. It's gotten better over the years. It used to be a 50-50 whether I bombed horribly or did decent, because I'm the first comic doing the concept for the crowd. They're not that familiar with it. I'm almost training them as well as doing my opening set. You know what I mean? Because I'm doing an example of what to expect the next 90 minutes.
So when you go up and you introduce a show or you open the show or start the show, you go up there with nothing in your mind, right? You just say, fuck it. I'm just going to go up there and whatever comes out, comes out.
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude.
It's the only way to do it. Right? Oh yeah. Yeah. It gets the adrenaline going every time, because you're like, this could be horrible or amazing.
Who are the best guys at it?
I've had so many comics over the years who have done it that are really good at it. One of the most recent ones that was really impressive was Mark Normand from New York. He had a very standout set that was really good. Joe Rogan, he's done the show so much over the years. Anybody who knows their comedic voice really well is going to flourish in the show. You know what I mean? If you've been doing comedy a long time and you know what makes you funny and what the audience, there's been so many comics who've done it over the years. Rory Scovel is one of my favorites to do it. Eric Andre. There's a bunch of people who are just really, really talented, like off the cuff. And
has Dave Chappelle ever did it?
No, he hasn't done it. I would love for him to do it someday.
Yeah. What about Sebastian?
Sebastian would be another good one. Jeff Ross has done the show a bunch, and he's great at it. What I like about Jeff doing the show is he gets more, a lot of his stuff is very topical and roasty, but like when he's done my show, he talks about family stories and stuff like that. And I find that fascinating, because that's just like a different side of a comedian that we know, but we haven't really seen that side from him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Has Theo Vaughn done it?
He's phenomenal at it.
Oh,
Oh my!
dude.
I mean, Andrew Santino just did it. He was so good. Bert Kreischer has come up with I think one of the bits that he riffed ended up on one of his specials, which is like that's the coolest thing when somebody improvises something that's so good that they start working it into their act. That's the highest compliment to the show, you know?
Yeah. I should keep a real good track of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's basically what it is. It's when you're improving, that's coming up with the idea, and then some. Obviously, sometimes the best stuff, and a lot of times the best stuff comes out that first time you said it with your friends or whatever. However, the bit was formed, whoever you said it around, right there, because it was so real and it was just worded perfectly, right? Sometimes that improv is the best way.
Well, because sometimes when you go to write something, it's not exactly how you talk. Does that make sense?
Exactly.
When you just say it, that's the most pure form of what you do.
Yeah, because you're on stage kind of, putting out the illusion that you are just coming up with this and you are just having a conversation, and it isn't something that you memorized word for word. You want it to sound like you're just having a conversation with your buddies.
Exactly. Yeah, I've gotten some great material that's still in my act from stand up on the spot shows that I kept working on. Some of it I didn't even have to work on that much. It just came out and I'm like, oh, that's going in the act. Like that joke just works.
How's the saxophone playing going?
Good, man. I was just actually jamming yesterday with my pal Jesse Johnson, who we used to be in the Kill Tony band together. So it was cool to jam with her because it had been a minute since I had jammed with a friend. So it was part of the reason I was looking forward to today. I was like, oh, I think I might get to jam a little bit with Eddie.
You know what? I don't know how we would do it.
I don't know. You said you wanted to. You sent me a song that you wanted to do something with, but I don't. How would we do that?
I don't know, to tell you the truth. On Zoom, is there like a delay in the music?
That's the only thing I'm a little bit worried about. There is some kind of delay.
Yeah.
But you know what? If we don't do it today, I already told you we're gonna do another Jeremiah Wonders when you come back on. I want to do a full-on jam session when we do it in person.
Oh, totally. I'll bring my piano player as well too. Yeah, so
that'll be amazing.
We'll do a proper
Armand?
jam. What was that?
Armand?
That's right. Of course, Armand.
Yeah, been over to your place.
Oh yeah,
he's so great, dude.
Yeah,
he's awesome.
Oh yeah, we're actually in the middle of making an album right now. It's
dude. I don't know what you sent me, but it sounded freaking good.
A baby wipe.
Yeah, it sounded good, man. Like
Thanks,
the production and everything.
Yeah.
Dan, it sounds legit.
Dan Yakananov, he's engineering for me, and yeah, we got about, that's like you mentioned earlier, there was you said a good thing about the scamdemic. You said that it gave you more time to write and stuff like that. Same thing with me, man. The music that I'm writing now, the band that I got together now, and the way I'm jamming now, it wouldn't be happening if it wasn't for the scam. So there's like good things coming from this.
Isn't that crazy? Like it sometimes takes something to like give us perspective in a different way, because
totally
who knows, like had like everything that had been going on, if you and I would have even became as good of friends, like we had more downtime, you know what I mean?
Totally.
Or we could literally go hang, like we had like UFC like watch party nights, and like the jams after that were so epic.
Yeah, those UFC parties during the fucking lockdown, man.
Yeah.
You'd come over with your sax, and it'd be a packed house at Armand's. He's got his piano. I'm playing guitar. We're just all yelling stupid shit. And because of all that shit, man, my whole musical direction changed. The band that I was in before was kind of fell apart because of the division caused throughout all this shit. There was like, you lose friends, because of political stuff. That kind of happened.
Yeah.
That kind of happened.
It's kind of crazy that there's even a thing that
so that broke that band up. basically.
Wow. Yeah,
so
yeah.
I ended up just writing songs on my own about all the bullshit, and it just wrote itself. And I've never been a prolific writer. I would always write lyrics. I've been writing lyrics my whole life, but I'm not one of those guys who just has all these songs that I'm constantly writing. I just write whenever I'm inspired, and sometimes it doesn't come for a while, and sometimes it just pours out, and sometimes nothing for a few years, So, but there's so much emotion over the last couple of years running through everybody's veins that man, I couldn't stop writing, and I just wrote just joke song after comedy song after joke song. Everything was a joke. Everything was, and it was just the songs just came out and just wrote themselves. There's just so much stupid shit going on that it was so easy, and I would have never done it if we didn't go through it. I would have never done it. That old band probably would have still been together if it wasn't for all this shit,
Right.
And I would have been still going that way. But now I'm going a totally different way. And then I became closer with my students and started hanging out with my students. And Armand, he's a pianist, and we would train jujitsu and then jam afterwards and get high and fucking just make stupid music. And then what started out as just dumb ass joke songs that we would just have so much fun doing. I never even thought of singing and playing acoustic guitar. I was always a songwriter, and I would write for other people because my voice sucks. And
But you have the rock star rasp though. You know what I mean?
Man, I hate my voice, but I love writing vocal melodies. That's my thing. I think that's what I like doing the most with music is creating the music and then writing the vocal melodies over it. I love it. And then getting someone that actually knows how to sing with a beautiful voice and a pretty voice and getting them to sing what I put together. That's what I've always done. I've written many songs for female vocalists that have insane vocal abilities and insane, I've written for one girl. She was, she could hold down a musical, play, and sing lead. She was amazing. And, that's who I generally write for. So now I'm, singing these crazy joke songs, and it would have never happened without all the bullshit. So it's weird, and having a lot of fun doing it. And, I'm surrounded by guys who were just as enthusiastic about the music as I am. So we're just having fun with it.
That's
we're gonna
the
release
best.
an album and see what happens. But
Getting together with like-minded friends is it's always a blast.
and you would always just show up over these exact same songs. We have a bunch of new ones too, but you would show up and you would just jam over anything that we were playing on your sax. And I mean, I got a bunch of that shit recorded. I still got all that shit recorded. Didn't you show up for my birthday too?
I think so. Yeah.
And my birthday jam too. Yeah, those are those lockdown UFC jam sessions. Fuck, dude. Those
Epic.
are classic. So, but now we jam at my academy because of the scamdemic. We had to close up the front of the school and everyone came through the back. We had to we were doing secret jujitsu sessions. But when everything, when all the bullshit subsided and then they let the businesses open up again, I just kept the front closed and we still have the back door as entrance. So now the front lobby of my gym, that's my jam room now. We moved the piano to my school. We jam at my school. So we end up jamming way more now. When you can work, and by work I mean teach jujitsu and have fun doing jujitsu, and then take a shower and clean up the school, and then all the jam equipment is right there. We just jam. We just stay there. Because we usually, after we're done training and cleaning up, we usually just hang for about an hour and smoke weed and just chit chat about the bullshit that's going on in the world. But now we do that and we start jamming. Dude, I got a piano at my school. I got guitars, mics. We got a fucking amps. So now the UFC parties are at my school because I got a giant big screen. So that front lobby that we closed up, now it's You know, it's the UFC party / jam room. You got to come.
That's awesome.
You gotta come
I gotta come back through. That's
You've
dope.
been so goddamn busy because I keep inviting you, but you're always on the goddamn road. You're like, dude, I'm in Pittsburgh tonight. Fuck, man, I'm in Louisiana. Shit. God damn it, I'm in
Keep
Portland.
asking though. When I'm in town, I'll come through, bro.
I keep asking. Okay.
I know. I appreciate that.
Hell yeah, man. So what's the latest going on with you? What's happening? What's coming up? Anything big? Netflix special?
You know, I'm focusing all my attention right now on the Stand Up on the Spot series. I'm self-producing all these and putting them out on my YouTube, and we're making them everyone looks like a special. Like like we put a lot of love and time to make the audio and the video like production really special. And they're letting us shoot it at the Comedy Store, like the fact they're letting me shoot stuff at the Comedy Store is huge, bro. Like it's amazing. They trust me, and we've worked out something where I get a shoot in there. So I'm honored that I get to be one of the few people that have gotten to shoot stuff in there. So I've just been focusing on that for the moment, and then I'm just touring on the road with stand up and a couple podcasts. Jeremiah Wonders, the Scissor Bros. So, and then got the baby and the wife, and I'm juggling all the things.
That's a beautiful thing, man. Everything's going so great for you. That Stand Up on the Spot series sounds like something that's going to get picked up by somebody, Netflix, Amazon, or something.
I believe that it's going to happen. I think that I'm just going to, I keep making it because I love the show right now, and it's a blast, and I'm getting all my buddies on it, like that I want to showcase and stuff like that. And you're coming up, you're doing the one on August 9th, so I'm stoked.
Am I? Did I say that?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Okay.
August 9th.
I got to not work on new material.
Exactly. You're already ready to go, brother.
It's a beautiful thing. No pressure.
I know. Yeah.
God damn it. I was just going to fucking ask you something. Shit. Oh, I know what I was going to ask you. What, the Stand Up on the Spot series, you ever consider putting that on Rockfin?
Right now, I'm not putting anything behind a paywall for the show just to get as many eyes as possible. But
if they paid you, if they say, hey, we want to buy your show,
it'd be something I'd be open to. I mean,
you're looking for some big old money though, right? Like some kind of $1 million deal kind of deal, right?
Well, the way I look at it right now, like the show, like even though I've been doing the show since 2010, it's still, as far as like eyeballs on it, it's still kind of in its infancy. So I kind of don't want to put it behind a paywall too soon. Yes. Like I you know what I mean? I'd rather it grow and and people be stoked about it and give it to people for free for the time being, and me kind of eat the cost on the production and stuff like that for the time being, because I believe in the long term, like. Yeah, I think it'll get on a network eventually someday, I think it'll become a hit show on YouTube someday. Like it'll be one or the other. So I've just faith in the product.
Beautiful, man. Jeremiah, how could people out there reach you? What's your
on
Instagram?
All social media at Jeremiah Stand Up. And then I've got a great YouTube channel, youtube.com/Jeremiah Watkins. That's where you can find all the stand up on the spots that we were referencing. And then Scissor Bros and Jeremiah Wonders. And then I'm coming up, I'm touring in Madison, Wisconsin, Dallas, Texas, Albany, New York, and Huntington Beach all in August. So busy boy.
Beautiful, man. That Stand Up on the Spot is on a Monday or a Tuesday?
The second Tuesday every month. So Tuesday, August 9th will be the show that Eddie's on.
Oh, shit.
At the Comedy Store, baby.
All right. Beautiful, man. I'll see you soon, man. And we got to jam real soon, too.
Dude, absolutely. Let's do it.
All right, man. Thank you, dude. I'll talk to you soon.
Love you, brother. Thanks for having me.
You too, man. See ya.
The Jiu Jitsu Dojo is the ultimate training ground for life. Jiu Jitsu will accelerate the evolution of your being, your consciousness, your soul. Through this amazing art, you will prove to yourself that you can master anything you set your mind to.
Happy birthday, Eddie Bravo.
I leave for Brazil tomorrow.
Are you the Fear Factor guy? I'm like 6 pounds over. Time to sweat it out.
Just imagine someone that has no idea how different your game is.
I'll tell you what this weekend was, man. It was a culmination point where all your hard work comes to like one great moment in time. You showed that you're a fucking champion. Guy who goes against convention. You created your own shit and figured interesting ways to get around problems in jiu-jitsu. And shows you that great things are possible if you work hard, if you dedicate yourself, and you use your creativity, and you push through. Your own human potential just goes up.
My 10th Planet Association has grown rapidly to over 70 academies worldwide, and their curriculums are all synced to 10th Planet headquarters located in downtown Los Angeles. I'm Eddie Bravo. I hope to see you on the mats.
You can tell it's real because it looks so fake.